It's Josh Sebo, the COO of OfferVault.com, the world's largest affiliate offer search engine. Subscribe to our channel for more great interviews, the latest affiliate news, and free training. Today, we have another very special guest. He's the co-founder of the first conference I ever personally attended, the Affiliate Summit. Let's welcome to the show, Shawn Collins. What's up, Shawn?
Hey, Josh. Thank you for having me. It's good times here. Nice sunny day.
Yeah, I mean, you're a legend in this space. You're one of the first people I thought I'd reach out to try and get on the show, so I really appreciate you being here. I'd love to know, before the Affiliate Summit, what were you doing? Did you have any like funny, weird jobs, like, or I guess I shouldn't say funny, weird. I mean, I used to park cars and I loved doing it when I did it, but what were you doing before you were, the co-founder of the Affiliate Summit trade show?
So even when I got started with Affiliate Summit, I'd already been in the industry for 6 years. I got a job back in '97 with a company called MedSite, and they were basically trying to be Amazon for medical books. And I just answered an ad in the New York Times for this job opening, and I had no experience at all with online, or affiliate marketing was so brand new. I had just become an Amazon affiliate like a week before, just trying to make some extra money. But I'd worked in magazine publishing and circulation for all the years before that, so I went to it pretty blind. I was able to just pretty much bullshit my way into the job by throwing around some jargon that I learned from the Amazon program. I was like, oh yeah, creative, click-throughs, and just
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, seriously?
Yeah. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? How did you go from the magazine stuff and, the other jobs you mentioned to the affiliate marketing world, jargon aside, what was that transition into the affiliate marketing space like for you?
So it was really tough because this is back in '97, so there are no resources, no podcasts or anything. And so I went in there totally blind, and they had a homegrown technology to track stuff that was pretty horrible. And they just asked me to, and I guess it was a combination of just, they thought I knew what I was doing, and I was willing to take this low salary. And it was just this brand new startup, a couple guys that just graduated from UPenn. And I went in there, and it was just like in the bustling days of like the Silicon Alley in New York City with all the startups going on, and we were right in the middle of that. And so they just asked me to find people to promote their books, and we'd pay them a commission. So nobody that I was contacting was mostly like students that were medical students, and they had like organizations. And so I had to go through the whole pitch to explain the entire thing with technology and everything, because they had no idea what I was talking about. So every call was such a complete cold call, and it was so hard to sell people on it. But it started happening, and it got really big. These guys sold out, I think, to Medscape years later, but I'd already gone on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
even
how do you?
before
Oh, go
before
ahead.
that, before that, I had like for some goofy jobs, like after college, I got out after I went to the University of Maryland and spent 5 years there. I had a lot of fun, and was really equipped to do nothing. And I had never gotten a driver's license, so I get out of college at 23 with no license. I moved back in with my dad, and so I had to find a job I could walk to. And I was going to like liquor stores and stuff, and they were all saying I was overqualified. I'd probably quit fast, so I couldn't even get a job, like a garbage job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up working like the front desk at a hotel for minimum wage for a while, and then I guess it wasn't minimum wage; it was $5.50 an hour back then. And then after that, I ended up getting a job as an assistant manager at a Blockbuster. And I was very excited to get up to $7 an hour then.
So you're probably the reason that Blockbuster went out of business, right?
It was still thriving when I was there. I only spent like 4 months there.
Yeah.
Because since I was the lowest guy in the totem pole, I was getting stuck doing the holidays. I had to work Thanksgiving that year. And they're like, oh, by the way, you're working Christmas too, Christmas night. And I was like, get out of here. And I got in trouble on Thanksgiving because they had like certain sanctioned movies you could play, and I was playing stuff that I knew was going to get me in trouble just because I was just being an asshole. And so I was playing like Boys in the Hood and stuff when like families were all walking through there.
Nice.
And so we parted ways, and then I ended up just getting some admin job at the University of Maryland, and just bounced around there until like about a year and a half later, I decided to move up to New York City, and then just started working in publishing then.
Yeah. So how did you go from doing your own affiliate stuff to the foundation of the Affiliate Summit conference? I'd love to hear like the very beginning days of putting that together. What led you to come up with that idea to create this show, and what was the process like getting that show off the ground?
Yeah, so one of the good things there was that I had a handful of jobs over time from 97 on. And so I was writing for the old marketing site clickz.com back in the day, and I got noticed by Q Publishing, which was part of Macmillan, and they asked me if I want to write a book about how to manage an affiliate program, because that's what my column was mostly about. And they said that I had 6 weeks to write it, and it was like 300 something pages, and this is in late 2000. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And they barely paid me anything, but I was so excited to get a book. And it ended up opening so many doors. I built a really nice list of affiliate managers and had a site for a while called affiliatemanager.net. And it got me a lot of great consulting gigs and things. But so with that, I had a continually growing list of affiliate managers to tap into. And I started doing some meetups around New York City. And I was working at a company called Club Mom at the time, running their affiliate program. And New York was such a big haven for affiliate programs then. So I would just have like these get-togethers once a month and just have like coffee and donuts, and like 50 people would show up. And so I just started building this foundation and getting some idea about how cool it could be to do something like that. And around the same time in 2000, there was a company called what's it called now? I'm totally blanking on the name. It was a cruise that out of Miami that it was an affiliate cruise. And I was helping this guy. He reached out to me, this guy Herbie, who was running it, asking me to try to recruit some people for it. And I figured, yeah, I'd love to have an event to go to. And so I was using my list to try to get people there, and I referred a lot of the people there, and I spoke there and did all these things. At the same time, my co-founder with Affiliate Summit, Missy Ward, she had linked up with this guy, and we didn't know each other at all. And she was doing some travel for him and helping him out. And so we just met like just random like conference bar friends at a couple consecutive events of these. I was called Affiliate Force. That's the name of this event. And so we were just helping him out. And over time, we started giving him some advice, like you should do this and that to make this thing better, because it was really just a boondoggle. It's this Caribbean cruise where people were just gambling and drinking. And so we were telling him that no big brands wanted to go on there. It was mostly gaming that was showing up, because you're not going to get into Amazon to show up on a cruise. Like his homepage had people like chugging beers and playing roulette and stuff. And so he was like, you guys have to know your place. You don't know what you're doing. You're just these little pawns here. And so the whole foundation for Affiliate Summit really started out of frustration. Missy and I were hanging out in this cruise ship, like fuck this guy.
You're like we're not pawns, we're kings.
Yeah, and we're volunteering to help this guy, and we built it for him for nothing. Mm-hmm. And he's being a total jerk to us. Like, we should run our own conference. Like, two of us just drinking one night. And so like a month later, in I guess May 2003, I called her up and I was like, "So you serious? You think you want to try to do a conference?" She's like, "Yeah." And it didn't make sense at all. Like, she was a single mom, didn't have a lot of money. I was married with a couple kids and a mortgage and just barely breaking even. And we had no money to invest and no knowledge of running events, but we were just stubborn enough to think we could do it. And so we figured, like, this guy in 2004, he had another conference that was a cruise that was scheduled. And so we're like, we should just go head to head with him, but instead of doing it in the Caribbean, we'll do it out of New York up to Canada. And because it'll be a lot easier. Not as many people have to fly to it and everything. And but in the meantime, I was thinking we should probably do some kind of first event to try to get some momentum and get some attention. And so I was working right in Midtown Manhattan then, and I happened to talk to somebody at lunch one day, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Baruch College, which was like 2 blocks away, they have in the marketing department, and some people are doing meetups there, and they'll let you have this place for the whole day, AV and everything, all for free if you give some free spaces to their marketing students." It's like, oh, awesome. So I went there and checked it out, and it was this beautiful space that fit like 200 something people. And so I talked to them, made a deal, and then they said if we give 10 seats to their students, we can have the rest of it all day, everything for free. And so I was like, hey, Missy, we should do this, and let's do it during AdTech in New York. And at the time, AdTech was gigantic. There were like 8,000 people going to it. And so we were like, they're all going to be coming to New York anyway. Let's do it the same day and just totally like ride their coattails.
Right.
And so we did this thing, and we called in a bunch of favors. A bunch of friends came and a bunch of people that are still around, like Scott Richter came and spoke, and a bunch of other people. And so we sold tickets pretty cheap. It was $75 for the whole day, and you're getting like coffee and lunch and the whole access to everything. A bunch of networking and speakers. And it was a lot of the biggest people at the time that came out there and spoke, a lot of people that were doing CPA and search and everything. And so it sold out quickly, and we ended up having like a big wait list, and people were like begging for us to let them in, but we had a capacity issue. And so we had like a dozen people that stood out all day hoping people wouldn't show up so they could come in there. And so we got the bug there. We're like, oh my God, we didn't even do much here. And this thing just totally caught fire. Mm-hmm. And so we just relayed that to the next spring to do a cruise up to Nova Scotia out of New York City. And that was about 250 or so people maybe, and that sold out quickly. And since we were really doing the bulk of recruiting for the Selly Guys Conference affiliate for us, he ended up having all of his attendees and sponsors move over to us, and he ended up having to cancel because he had nobody going. So this guy that blew us off and insulted us the year before, we put him out of business before we barely even started.
Like a true gangster.
So, and he still had some exhibitors and stuff, and he's from South Africa. He just fled the country with their money and just never had an event.
Oh, okay.
And he's just and there's still like Todd Crawford that runs Impact, and some other people that are still around the industry. He was working at Commission Junction at the time, and they had paid for a booth, and he just got screwed. Him and a bunch of other people that are still around, they invested in the conference and just got left hanging. This guy disappeared, never came back.
So then year after year, the conference kept growing. You kept getting bigger venues, more people are coming, and you're like, this is a real thing that we've developed.
Yeah, and for the first year and a half, we didn't even make any money on it. So we were working full-time jobs. I was for the first 5 years, and I guess Missy for around the same thing. So we were just doing it pretty much on evenings and weekends to run the whole thing, even as it was growing. And we were hitting Vegas and started getting 500 and 1,000 people. And we always wanted to have very controlled growth. So we learned from our very first event that if we had the scarcity there and less space than there was desire to get in there, that people would be worked up into a frenzy. So we always just got a place that was maybe a little bit too small. And so people would wig out, and all of a sudden a secondary market started where people were scalping tickets for it. And so we never wanted to try to go from like 200 to 2,000. We went from like 200 to 500 to 800 to 1,000 to 1,400. And we just always kept it pretty slow growth, just slow and steady. And that just, it worked out well for us. And even so we've sold it in 2017. And so we still have a few months left, but all the way to the end there, we always just followed that practice where we always booked like the most space we could possibly use and even freeze some people out. And it continued to always sell out because we never tried to get too big for ourselves, but it kept getting bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. Over like approaching like 7,000 in Vegas.
So let's pretend I know nothing about the Affiliate Summit, or maybe some of our viewers have never attended the conference yet. Why don't you tell us about the Affiliate Summit, and what the show actually represents and why people should attend and check it out?
So one thing that we were trying to accomplish there was that Missy and I both thought that conferences were just pretty boring. So we're trying to make something that was more fun and more interactive and entertaining, because for me, like I was always a lousy student. I had a hard time sitting through a class, and to sit through a session on something like legal issues with canned spam or something for an hour was complete misery to me. So we wanted to have something that was just more punchy and fun and interactive. And like our very first ones, we had a focus both on education and on networking. And we started out with the traditional booths, and we were realizing that a lot of companies were startups with maybe one or two people, and they couldn't afford and they couldn't staff a whole booth for a couple of days. So at the time I would read the New York Post every day, and they had a column in there once a week that was about dating called Meat Market. And they spelled the same way that we ended up spelling it. And I was like, oh, I love that idea. And I recently, before that, I had gone to a job fair, and I was like, I like this kind of style where it's just like a bunch of tables and just very stripped down. And so I was thinking, like, maybe we could do like this reduced kind of exhibit hall where we just call it the Meat Market, and just it's something where it has an easy, low buy-in and anybody can access it. So the newest startup can sneak in there and get some exposure. And so we did that. The first time we did it was in 2006 in Orlando, and it was a total flop. And then we tried it again because we just thought it was a good idea, and it was working. But we're always just trying to mess around with the formula and do things that we didn't see in other places that we thought would be fun. Back in our very first one, we did like I was always reading about speed dating, and I thought it'd be cool to do speed networking. And I'm not sure if it existed as a concept before that or not, but to us it was new. And so we tried that, and at our first 3 or 4 conferences, until it just got too big and it just didn't scale well. But we love the idea of just having people like in these lines, and they would just jump over like after a minute of just doing like a quick elevator pitch and switching cards. And then if you had interest, just like in a date, you would continue that conversation later. And we started out having like the long form kind of sessions, and we were like, we can't even sit through our own sessions; they're miserable. So I'd gone to a TED Talks thing, and I was like, I love this thing, having like a 18-minute session where they just give you like 5 points, you're in and out, and either you're wanting more or you're glad you're finally leaving after just 18 minutes. And so we just started doing that for all of our sessions, except for like some keynotes and things. And so we were always just sort of fiddling with things, trying to make it more interesting and fast. And I figure like a lot of, like if Missy and I were typical, we figure like we have such short attention spans, and we can't bear to be sitting in the same place for an hour. So we just always wanted to make things quick and get people to meet as many people as possible. And just we were trying to design a conference that we'd want to go to, since we hated most conferences.
Mm-hmm. And that's ideally what you guys ended up doing. You created a really amazing conference where people in the industry can get together, network. You know, you mentioned the meat market. That's always my favorite day of the affiliate summit. It's just pure chaos in the best way possible. I feel like there are so many people trying to do business there, and I mean that, you know, in the best way possible. But I think this next question is really going to be a good one for you to answer for us. Maybe you can comment on 2 different sides of it. One related to the conferences and one related to the affiliate space. But where do you see the industry heading over the next couple of years with conferences and, you know, with people just doing affiliate marketing in general?
Well, I think like as much as like everything with coronavirus is lousy for everybody, I think it's probably going to strengthen affiliate marketing, because it's one industry where so many people have been working from home so long, they're so used to it. I see all these people on Facebook that are suffering and freaking out about working from home and having kids and dogs barking and stuff. And I think so many people in this space have been doing this for so long, and it just doesn't faze them. I've been having calls for 20 years where my dog's barking or a kid's screaming for something in the background. People are like, oh yeah, whatever.
Right.
And in other industries, people just wig out about it. And I think also just with the shift, I think you're going to see so many retail stores closing, and so I think people are perfectly set up in affiliate marketing to get even stronger and really take advantage of this enhanced business. Like I've seen that Amazon is making more money than they ever have. One thing that sucks there is they recently reduced commissions for all their affiliates at a time where they're making the most, which is sort of lame, but it happens with different retailers over time. But I think conferences is a tricky thing. Like for Clarion, who purchased us, excuse me, they're talking about, they just sent an email out today saying that Affiliate Summit East in New York City that was scheduled for late July is postponed, and there's not even a date yet. And they got I'm all dry here.
Yeah, no, that's cool. We're just hanging out. Hanging out.
So they're trying to figure out when they're going to even do Affiliate Summit East now, because it's just not happening in midsummer. And so the company as a whole, they're trying to look at making things happen in August, September, but this is also up in the air. So I'm not even sure where conferences go. And I know some people have talked about there'll be like a switch to doing online events, but I've gone to some of those in the past, and they just weren't good. Like you can still see a speaker and watch them on your screen, but the networking just is different. You don't have like that, like in Meat Market, like the frenzy where you're just seeing so many people, and you just have the chance to meet people that you want to meet. You can just walk up into a bar or a restaurant or the lobby or in the conference, and you don't have those kind of chance meetings online. Mm-hmm. It's just a very different thing. Like if you're typing to them, and like the in-person networking, I think just can't ever be replicated. So I think that's something that events are going to still have to exist for. I'm not sure when they can come back with social distancing and all this stuff. It's going to be tricky and delayed to even make it happen again. And I'm very happy that we sold when we did, because I'd be losing my mind right now. Mm-hmm. Because we had an event coming up in June in Amsterdam that had to be canceled, and now New York is postponed till who knows when.
So what would be some advice you would give to a new affiliate just getting started in this industry right now? I know you did a lot of affiliate marketing and you still do. So what would be some insight you could shed for them on things they should be focusing on if they're relatively brand new to the space and are learning every day?
I think like for me, I've always done content sites, and part of that was when I first got into it. Like even back then, a domain was $35 a year, and you had to get a 2-year commitment through Network Solutions. So back then, I was pretty broke, so it was a little bit scary to even buy a domain back then. Now you can buy them like candy.
Hmm.
But so back then I would be very careful about the domains I picked in the '90s, and I would just slow it. I love writing anyway, so I just create these content sites and just churn out content every day, and that's something I still do. I enjoy doing that. And so anybody who's breaking into it that has nothing to invest and nothing to lose, like paid search, they could certainly hit big right away, but they could lose big too. So I usually encourage brand new people to just mess around and create a content site about some topic they care about, and just write. And they have to be very patient, very persistent, because they're not going to see any money for quite a long time probably. And I share with them the story for me, like my very first site, and this is really dating me, but it was before I even had a hosting or a domain. I did it on AOL, and I just took an HTML tutorial on there, and I had just created a site that was hosted on AOL, and it was just all about things to do in New York City, and I was selling books through Amazon. And back then it was so primitive with all of the reporting, where there was no online reporting. They would send you an email once a quarter with your numbers. So my very first quarter, I didn't sell anything, and there was no way to really test anything. I had no idea what was working, and I really had very little audience too. But but then after seeing that, and I saw which things were getting clicks at least, and so I doubled down and just tried to write more and do more, and eventually started buying domains, and just kept testing and kept sticking with it, because at the time I was married, had a kid on the way, had a new mortgage, and I just needed to make more money, because I think I was making like 25 grand a year. Living in North New Jersey was pretty expensive, and I needed to make things happen. So I didn't have a choice to give up on it. And so I just started buying more domains, and I would just write constantly and just had multiple sites until they started working. And I just started figuring out formulas and what was selling well. And I was just trying to test constantly. And I think a lot of people, they fail just because they give up, and there's so many sites that could have happened, or different affiliate projects, if they just would have stuck with them. And I think people just get lazy, and part of it's a trap, because you have all these people out there that are selling these promises of like getting rich quick. And so it sucks that there's some of like this dark corner of the space where there are these scammers that are promising that. And like I've seen things over time where people they get somebody to buy in for like $500 or $1,000 to basically just get a domain and to promote Amazon. And so something they could have done for $10, they end up spending $1,000 and just get some outdated advice. So I think for somebody, say a kid or like some random mom that's looking to make a couple extra bucks, I think a content site is a nice way to put your toe into it and figure it out and understand the industry. And then you can just figure out more things and maybe invest in paid search and building a list and things after you get the hang of it, and learn how to build an audience and promote it and figure out how to do it, just the mechanics of it.
Yeah, so you co-founded one of the biggest and most recognizable conferences in the space, I would confidently say. You saw it all the way through to the sale at the end you just mentioned. So I'm curious, how do you define success? Is it, building a company and eventually getting to a point where you could sell it? Is it not related to money at all? What's your definition of the concept success?
I used to think it was certain, like for Affiliate Summit, hitting certain goals for money and for attendance. But I think the biggest success that I ever had there was totally non-monetary. It was when people started telling me how they felt like it was a family when they come there. They'd be so excited to see all of their industry friends that became more of a family for them. They'd say it was like a family reunion. And there so many people that were stuck in not big city centers, where like their family and friends, if they were in like Des Moines or somewhere, and nobody understood what they were talking about. And so they'd come there, and that was the one place where they felt like they felt comfortable. They felt their tribe was there. And the fact that we built that, and over time, like there'd be different events and things, like people I knew would invite me to their weddings in the space, or bar mitzvahs, or 30th, 40th birthdays, different things. And so it really became a thing where there was this cohesiveness, and people just became so close together. And that was gigantic to me, that we were able to build this community where people actually cared about each other and became great friends and would connect and go on vacations together and things. That was amazing to me that we were able to do that.
What's some advice you would give to someone who's getting ready to enter the real world now? Maybe they're in their early 20s coming out of school. Maybe they're in their mid 30s changing, their career path, currently with everything going on. What would be some things you would tell them to focus on in terms of finding success and figuring it out?
I think one thing is to, you have to figure out what your priorities are. Cause I spent a lot of my 30s doing nothing but working. Because I started out at Affiliate Summit in 33. So I had a full-time job plus Affiliate Summit was a second full-time job. And I was doing a bunch of affiliate sites. I was consulting. And as my kids were getting older and stuff, I really did nothing but work. I would work 18, 20 hours a day. I'd barely sleep. And at the time I prided myself on it, like, oh yeah, I'm rise and grind and all that bullshit. And I did nothing but work. And at some point it just sort of felt empty. I didn't really have balance. And I moved from northern New Jersey to Austin, Texas when I was 40. And I finally realized that I could really scale down the hours, and I could go for a hike in the afternoon, or I could go for a long lunch with some people and have fun and really build relationships. And that was so much more important to me than the size of the bank account. It was fun to see how it was going up, but but at the end of the day, I felt sort of empty. I wasn't really fostering any relationships or doing anything fun. I would like almost brag about the fact that I was too busy to take vacations, but that sucked. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so important to have that balance, just mentally and physically, to get away from your desk and go do things, to go get fresh air and have fun and sit on a beach or something. So I think people should really structure their priorities and figure out how to have some balance versus feeling like they have to achieve these gigantic goals. And also, people put this burden on themselves to have such lofty goals, and it just makes them miserable. And I think part of the trap is, like, I've seen so many kids out of college would come and they would strike gold in affiliate marketing, and they're walking around with their fancy watches and posing in front of nice cars, and all of a sudden the bottom falls out and they're broke and they're ashamed and they never come around again. And I think humility is important, and balance, and that I think that makes you a lot more of a whole person than being able to show the fancy penthouse you're in or some nice watch. Mm-hmm.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the Affiliate Marketing Show. You were a fantastic guest. Before we let you go, we're going to finish this up with a little game I like to call the OfferVault Hot Seat. Here's how it works. We're going to ask you a series of 5 would you rather questions that get a little harder as we go. You just tell me what you would rather do, and then we move on to the next question. Pretty straightforward. Any questions on your end before we start my questions?
I don't think so. I have no idea what I'm in for here.
All right, question 1. Would you rather encounter dinosaurs or aliens?
I think definitely dinosaurs, because aliens are more of an unknown. I feel like dinosaurs, they're living beasts that you could slay, but aliens, who knows if they can go invisible and throw some magic powder at you and stuff. I feel like you can run behind a dinosaur and pummel it.
Yeah, well, apparently you have never seen Jurassic Park, because dinosaurs are pretty big.
And they're fast.
I would have to go with aliens just on the chance that maybe I could survive, because I don't think I would stand a chance against most dinosaurs. But that's okay. Yeah. We don't have to disagree. You're allowed to have
like velociraptors, that would be a tough one. And that one that like spread like a bird and like spit on Newman from Seinfeld with like the poison and stuff. I don't want to deal with those guys.
We all remember that dinosaur. Who could forget that classic gem?
Yeah, I'm figuring more like a brontosaurus. I figured like I could probably run behind it and kick it in the back of the leg.
Well, thank you for explaining that answer in detail. We appreciate it. Question number 2. Would you rather eat an entire bag of hot dogs or an entire bag of hot dog buns?
Well, I have some gluten issues, so definitely the hot dogs.
Okay, I would go hot dog buns just because I think like it'd be a little easier because it's just bread. But the hot dogs, that's a lot of meat. I don't know if I could do that. But you don't have a choice, so that was an easy one.
Yeah, I'm a hardcore carnivore, but I was always fascinated. I don't know if you ever watched on the 4th of July, they have the hot dog eating contest at Nathan's in Coney Island.
Yeah.
And they would like soak the hot dog buns in water get them, and that just sounds so disgusting, like wet hot dog buns. It sounds like a complete nightmare to me.
Question 3, would you rather eat spaghetti through a straw or blend it into a smoothie?
I think a smoothie, because I'm impatient.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine just methodically
trying to drop it in the straw, and then you gotta go one noodle at a time. I think I'd go smoothie and just get it over with as well.
Yeah, and if you put some meatballs in there and some sauce, it could be good.
Oh, all right. Now it's a personal custom smoothie. Okay.
Yeah. Well, not just spaghetti by itself. That would be pasty and nasty.
I would still do it. Question 4. Would you rather be a giraffe with neck problems or a hippo allergic to mud?
I think the hippo, because neck problems suck.
Yeah.
And I guess hippos can just swim in regular water, right? I guess maybe their feet would get a rash or something from walking in the mud, but they can still chill out, and they're a lot more feared in the jungle. I feel like a giraffe is very vulnerable.
Oh, wow.
If you can whip the neck around and see the lion coming, you're just sort of like looking straight ahead, you're screwed.
Wow, you really broke that down for us. Thank you so much. I would have to agree after that answer. Question 5. This is the final question of the hot seat. Would you rather lick your own toilet seat or rub your hands all over a public toilet seat and go to dinner without washing your hands?
100% lick my own toilet seat.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, but I think I would too, just because I know, like, at least those germs on there are coming from me. Like, that's better. Although, you know, if you're going to dinner and you don't wash your hands, like, you could still use a fork and get by without, you know, transferring the germs. That's tough. I don't know,
but yeah, I'm a known commodity for any mess there, and I know that how often I clean it. But like any kind of public one, like I just know how disgusting guys are in general. So and toilet seats, like, it seems so frequent when I'm in. I guess I haven't been in the public bathroom in a month or so, but
Yeah.
But so many guys, even as this was breaking out, I'd go to the gym, and they were putting this big emphasis, like, wash your hands constantly, and these guys just don't wash their hands
right?
in the bathroom, and like they're peeing all over the seat and everything. Just guys are just such primal animals. So I don't want their hepatitis P if I got to deal with that.
Yeah, Shawn, you were a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for playing the OfferVault hot seat. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Any last words you want to tell our viewers?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think just get out there and get some sunshine when you can, for as long as this lockdown's going to be. It's driving me a little bit crazy. And thankfully, I have a yard and a deck I can go to get some fresh air. But get away from that computer. Now is like, since at least now we have some free movement, we can go out there and go for a run or a walk or a bike ride. So take advantage of that and just find that balance. Just stop and smell the roses.
Well, for Shawn, the co-founder of the Affiliate Summit, and myself, Josh from OfferVault, let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We'll see you guys next time.